This is a Dune hate-fueled yap. The thing that really annoys me about Dune is that everyone just thinks they're gods because they're on LSD. Like, everyone feels the way Timothée Chalamet feels in Dune when you do mushrooms or acid. You feel powerful. And it feels like everyone in Dune doesn't realize that their power is derived from other things, not how the spice makes them feel. Like, I guess their power is derived from spice, but the feeling of power you get when you're high is illusory if you have to keep going back to it. And in Dune Messiah, the overall vibe I got from that book was that no matter how much spice Alia and Paul did, they still really had no clue what was going on or what to do about it or why they were there. Like, it didn't matter that they reached the top or the pinnacle of their power, because it's nothing like, there was no culminating moment for them. They were promised like this moment where they were in perfect control, and they can never achieve it because they keep going back for more and more and more. Like, they're both doing massive doses of spice, and they're still lost, you know? I mean, they're still lost, like, in the desert. When Paul finally does, see his vision start to come true, the thing that tells you that he wasn't sure is that there's changes in his visions versus what is actually happening. So I think that happens with like the little person character who shows up, the dwarf character who shows up in his vision, or in reality when he never saw that person in his vision, which like sets off a chain of events that leads to Chani's death. And then there's also like the birth of one of the twins. I think one of the twins he wasn't expecting. Maybe he wasn't expecting the boy. So what that tells you is that Paul only sought this because he wanted power. And same with Leto. I don't think that the golden path is like this locked in destiny that must be achieved to save humanity, because they don't save humanity. They murder millions of people, billions of people. They just believe that they have this intense destiny because the spice gives them this feeling of control, and they are sort of the whole galaxy's at the whim of these people who think that they deserve to be where they are. And because they want power. Like, Paul chose to go down the golden path because he wanted to be powerful. And then at some point, I don't know, those books don't really make a whole lot of sense because I just feel like it's so centered around like drugs. It gets way too into its own philosophy. It gets a bit lost. You can't trust people who are taking massive amounts of drugs like that. They're too in their heads. We already see that. Like, we see people with power that are drug addicts, and there's no reasoning with them. They don't have sense anymore. The other thing that really bothers me about the characters in Dune is that they're all just assuming what each other is thinking. The first book is like so many POVs where someone like sees someone's face twitch and they're like, I know exactly what their plans are. They plan to destroy me because they're doing like amateur body language analyzation like on TikTok. And I guess you could argue that like, no, they've been training and like perfecting their minds. But like, it really reads like a bunch of people who can't communicate their feelings to each other, and that's why they're all like playing these political mind games and backstabbing each other constantly, because like they can't have a regular conversation with like their partner, the person that they love. They can't just have like a regular how was your day conversation. Like, they're all going insane, overthinking everything. What kind of relationship is that love that Jessica has for Leto if you can't even talk about how you feel with someone? They're all training Paul to overanalyze everyone around him. I mean, that isn't healthy. It's not a healthy way to live. Whenever I read Dune, and the same is true for A Song of Ice and Fire, I sit there and I think, what's the point of all this? Why are people doing so much to grasp on a power that doesn't even seem to make them happy at all? Like, none of the people in power in those books are happy or experience joy for the years and years and years that they're living. Like, Paul is like constantly burdened by what he thinks his own burden is. What, like, it's a self-inflicted burden, but it's like kind of, it does feel like a white guilt kind of thing. Like, I must do this for who's good, who knows. It's, I mean, I really think he just wants the power and the control. And then when you add drugs to that, like, that's the thing about drugs in real life. they give you a sense of control, and I guess I just wish some of these characters would talk things out. You know, everything in Dune is like this. This is how all of the main characters think, that every situation is a moment to like shift power, which can be true all the time, but the characters are too married to their separateness. The thing about Dune is I can never tell if it's like trying to hit on this or not, because then you have the whole plot line where it's like Paul and Jessica are Harkonnen, so it's like it seems like there's this idea of like you don't understand that you're the same as your enemy. But like I think that theme is there, but it gets so bogged down in its own philosophy that it's like, what are you really trying to say? Because sometimes it seems like the books are like, yeah, don't trust the charismatic leader, but like ultimately that's the only thing that's going to save humanity. Like, where's the rebuttal to Leto? It's like, you don't have to do all this, babe. It was either going to be you or humanity destroying itself. Like, you don't have to take that responsibility because humanity needs it. But you're going to do to humanity what it was already going to do to itself. It just doesn't feel like an answer. But the book, I don't know, the vibe that I get from people, because I could not get through it. I couldn't finish Children of Dune. But the vibe that I get from people is that like people genuinely think that Leto was right. Or I don't know. Like, I've just heard a lot of people say, well, he had to do it to save humanity. And it's like, did you?